Hey everyone, welcome to Getting Back to Zero Tuesday edition. My name is Jeff Graham, your host for the evening. We are going to talk tonight. I've got a senior coach from This Naked Mind on, but wanted to talk about a lot of people have talked about or heard the term emotional sobriety versus physical sobriety. And I want to, I've been doing some reading on it because I think something that I've been very guilty of is fearing to face feelings. And I think I'm not alone in it, but I've, as a guy that drank his whole career, alcohol was the fantastic coper for me. And everything that I was, uh, tough days at work or in life in general, my coping tool was alcohol. And I think it's not uncommon, but in fact, I was talking to my guest tonight, Pam, about it. I'd be interested to hear more, but she said, yeah, you're not the first one that has mentioned this. But and I've said this before, but when we take away alcohol, I think, okay, all our problems go away. That's what's caused me all the problems. But really, what I've taken away is my only coping tool that I was comfortable with to deal with the problems. So I took away the thing that helped me deal with the problems, and the problems were still there. And now they're magnified because I don't have, the luxury to blur them out, shall we say. So I wanted to go in that. I know there's some chemistry stuff in the brain reward center. I started reading about this. I want to talk about the highs and lows of it, what the brain is doing. And I realized I'm in over my head. So, which is very common for me, but I wanted to bring in the specialist. So Pam, welcome. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Jeff?
You laugh as soon as you hear me admit that I'm clueless of what I'm talking about.
No, you're not clueless. It's all a learning process. You're doing amazing, Jeff.
Well, the one thing that people, because I like to do the show and it helps me so much, but people think that I have some of the answers. It's like, no, you have no idea. I'm just a schlep that's on the same path.
Yeah.
So I'm just figuring this thing out as I go. So that's why I love having people like you on, because I don't have to come up with the answers, but I get to hog the questions.
Yeah.
So I get to just ask the questions I want to hear and not listen to the ones that other people have. So people are already saying hey to you in the chat, which is always nice. So
I love being here because you think I have the answers and I can just go with anything, and you're good.
You've made the mistake of answering things correctly for me in the past. So
Yeah, that's
therefore,
true.
I mean, if you would screw some things up, then maybe I would lose faith in you. But until you stop doing your job, and I also called you you are a senior coach
Yes, I
with
am.
This Naked Mind.
I am. So after you coach for so many hours with This Naked Mind and or on your own, I think it's 300 hours, and fill out forms and do an interview, you can get promoted to become a senior coach. So I've been a senior coach now for a while.
The
Got nothing to do with the gray hairs or the age. It's
I was going to say that's what the AARP is calling me a senior already.
yeah.
They started that a couple. I almost complained, hey, give me. Oh, I lost you here. Just a second. But yeah, So yeah, I was going to make a joke about the senior thing, but I thought no, we let's not go there. But no, I'm so glad you're here. But the just to reiterate, um, facing feelings is scary. The only way that I knew how to deal with them, or the easy way I knew how to deal with them, was drinking them away. Because tomorrow, like I've said, is the greatest day in the world. I'll face them tomorrow. I still abuse that word left and right. Um, that's not using tomorrow is one I got to keep work on. So we got to face him today. Well, suddenly I'm without the tools to do it. But in reading, it talked about the chemistry and the brain reward and some of those things. But how do we learn to deal with these things without drinking? Because that was or a different coping mechanism.
Yeah.
Because
And
that
it's
was the easiest and it works.
well, really think about that statement though. Is that statement really true? Does it really work?
Great.
It numbs
What?
them.
Boom. You're right off the bat, but it works at that moment, or it
Yes.
works at that moment. Okay, let me
Yes.
rephrase it. But that's a fantastic, because it doesn't solve anything.
No. No. All it does is, I mean, the best, I would love to sort of take a few steps back even to before we even discovered alcohol. Because you as a man, pardon me, we're always, toughen it up, be strong, you're a man, be a boy. We don't show those emotions.
Walk it
Emotions
off.
aren't meant to be expressed, and as a female, and I don't mean to stereotype this, but it's so true even today. Oh, she's weak, look, she's crying, or it's okay, she's just a girl. And so going back to when we were kids, being emotional was not something that was acceptable. So we started to try and bury them then. We then discovered how difficult that was for so many of us. And all of a sudden, alcohol came along and it's like, oh, this just numbs everything. So now I don't have to worry about, sucking it up, being a man, or worrying about being too weak because I'm a woman. I just numb them all and I'm good.
But
Until the next
and
day.
that's the whole thing, is that doesn't fix anything of the problem.
No.
The problem is still there. And now I wake up tomorrow with the same feeling. Plus I had the guilt that, okay, great. I drank last night.
No. And I find with emotions, it's more of a fear because it's an unknown. We can have, like I can talk about the passing of your dad and the passing of my dad because we have that in common. And that feeling of just overwhelming sadness and grief that we don't want because we don't know what it's like. We don't know. I mean, I've had many clients say to me, I want to cry, but I'm worried I'm never going to stop. Because we don't know what it's like. When we start to face our emotions alcohol free, it's like this volcano that's been bubbling up inside of us. And all of a sudden it's like, okay, I'm here, I'm ready to go boom. And what do we do with it? How do we manage it? How do we bring it into focus? How do we, anything? It's difficult, but it can be done.
It's interesting. I don't know if you've ever heard this, but artificial tears. And when I say that, I've had times where I've cried or gotten emotional Christmas Eve. I'm such a sap at some of that stuff. But when I've been drinking, and it's like the drinking helps me let it out and cry, but it's not a true emotional cry. It's that, and you've seen the stereotypical drunk person that's crying and all that, or I love you, those kind of things. That's not real. But I felt like I had a good cry last night, so therefore I should be good.
But are you?
No.
And that's the depressant from the alcohol. There is no, so it's just bringing us down. It's, I always believed, or I thought that when I had that good cry, or when I got into that good fight with someone, a verbal, I'm really pissed off at you, that it would relieve and release that pent up emotion or those pent up feelings, but it doesn't. All it's doing is allowing the alcohol just to speak, and it's not speaking the truth. Everything else is still numbed in us.
So why do I struggle as a person that's trying to quit? And I'm using me as a stereotype, or just anyone situation. If I know deep down you're right about that, why do I still believe it'll work right now? Because I still, it's a go-to response maybe, that I believe when I'm bummed, there's still a part of me that believes that if I drink that bottle of wine or that 12-pack of beer, it'll make things better for the moment. And I can, on paper right now with you, convince myself that way. But when the moment hits, I still struggle to believe that.
Because you still hold that belief. Because you haven't been able to alter that belief. That's a belief that's still buried in your subconscious, that alcohol will help me with emotions. So what we need to do is transform that belief, adjust that belief. And really,
Are you going to swing the watch? I mean, that seriously, that's what
All I've got are pom-poms and a fly swatter. Sorry.
Yeah, I gotcha. But no, yeah, but that's the whole thing of I don't know. I can believe that eating kale is good for me on paper, but when I sit down and I'm hungry, my belief at that time is, yeah, I'll survive without it. I don't need it suddenly now because I'm hungry.
Being able to get, and like you said, you bring up a great point. Getting it on paper is one thing. But what you need to do is when you're getting it on paper or bouncing it around in your head, to really make sure that you're really questioning that belief. Does it really help me? Or is there something else that I'm struggling with? Like, is there an underlying fear, for example, to cry or to be sad or to grieve?
Well, then let me back it up here. I'm probably giving you 10 sessions worth into one for you to magically fix. But it's like knowing that alcohol is bad for you. I can take this piece of paper and write down all the things about what it does, all the physical, what it's a poison. I can do all that and write it on paper. Tomorrow at 5 o'clock, when I've had a crappy day, and I open up the fridge or wherever, and I'm looking at that wine or that beer, I don't care. And now solve that riddle for me, because you know what? The pain that I'm in because of work or whatever it is, I got that pain, and I got, but there's going to be some toxins that are, you really,
Yeah.
57 years I've poured nothing but ho-hos and Diet Pepsi into my system plus alcohol. What's one more day? So that's a similar thing. That's at that moment.
And that is definitely a struggle, especially at that moment. And then being able to do something like catch yourself. When we're dealing with emotions, when we're dealing with frustrations, when we're dealing with anything that's heavy, the most important thing to be able to do is to just stop and pause. To just really check in and really ask yourself, is that what I really want? And your automatic response is going to be, hell yeah. I mean, I need to quelch these feelings. I need to quelch the stress from the day. I need to quelch the reminder of what my boss said to me. I need to, get rid of all that. But when we actually stop and pause and acknowledge what is really going on and say, okay, what is the best way that I can solve this? And use tools and skills to play that tape forward in that quick 30-second span of pausing, that will allow you to slowly realize that, you know what, alcohol isn't really what I need. It's not going to help me. I mean, I have an acronym for pause. So you pause. I'm gonna screw it up. I know. I got to make sure I can spell pause right. You pause. A is for accept. So just accept just yourself in the moment. What is going on? Am I feeling stressed? Am I sad? Am I angry? Am I, whatever. Understand it. Look back on the day. What the hell happened today? Oh, well, my boss got really grumpy and I'm finishing dealing with, my dad's estate and everything's just piling up on me. So understand what's going on.
Can we slow it down? So accept though is, okay, I got a client hung up on me. Okay, those are single events that might have done that. I have those days where it's like, you know what? I don't even know what happened today, but it was just I can't even put anything specific on it. I'm just drained and I want to check out.
So that is part of the accept, is just acknowledging what has gone on. I'm drained. Okay. That takes us back to HALT. Hungry, angry, lonely, tired.
Sometimes it's all of the above.
Yeah, of course. So without sidetracking, going back to pause. So pause, accept, understand, solve. What is it I really need? And really ask yourself that question. Is a drink really going to make it better? play that tape forward quickly. I'm going to end up on the floor. I'm going to end up waking up in the middle of the night feeling like crap. I'm going to feel like crap tomorrow morning. What do I really need? Well, you know what? I could use a nap, and I know how much you love kale. I could use a nap and some kale salad right now. That would really pick me up. Or whatever. I could use a run. I could, I need to talk to a friend, whatever it is. And then the E is execute it. Get it done. Whatever it is to get you away from that fridge, get it done. Especially in the early days, because that's been our go-to. Our brain is wired. Shoot, something's going wrong. Let's grab that drink. So what we're doing is rewiring our brain, changing those neurons and saying, no, you know what? We really don't need a drink. What we do need is to feel the feels. What we do need is to take a nap, have a kale salad, call a friend, do something else, and not wake up hungover and feeling like crap.
The execute is probably where I struggle then, because it's and maybe you're not supposed to go grocery shopping when you're hungry, because I come home with I go to get salad and chicken, I come home with Doritos and all the other crap that if I was full, if I filled up before I went grocery shopping, I'd have a better chance. It's when I'm hungry and I have to make those choices when I'm not prepared that I struggle with. But the execute, and this comes back to the word tomorrow. And I'm at 2 years, Pam. I've been over 2 years and feeling good with it. But the execute, when I am struggling to execute, when I know all this stuff but I'm struggling, I sometimes look, do you really want this? And that makes me, because you know what you're supposed to do, you know what you should do, and yet, but I can say tomorrow, I just want to check out today. And that scares the hell out of me sometimes, that.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. That would scare the hell out of me too. But again, that's where you execute in the sense of, really question yourself. Is that what you really want? Is you want to check out? Or are you just frightened of feeling the feels right now?
And that's probably, that is probably I'm sure that's the answer.
Yeah.
Because it's like the alternative of sitting down and having to face the things that I don't want to. I've done a great job of running from those.
Yeah.
That and turning it off, and I'll deal with him tomorrow, or that customer, I'll worry about the deal I just lost. I'm too tired to worry about it tonight. I'd rather be in a good mood, so I'll worry about it tomorrow. Yeah. But I also didn't know how to at the time. I didn't know.
No, and we don't know how. So
it was either drink or don't drink. There was no other, alternative solutions.
It's a black and white. There is no gray area in that. So being able to understand what's going on, understand what you want to do, and then finding tools to numb out. Like if I get to the point where I am so stressed or so, I went through this after my dad passed, where I was just so overwhelmed with emotion and I didn't know what to do, and I wanted to check out, because we as humans don't want to feel those feelings. Mm-hmm. I went to the gym and anyone that was around me, I said, watch out. Like if you see me on the treadmill, or if I get the boxing bag up and I just start to wail and you see me with tears streaming down my face, I'm fine. I just got to get it out. Mm-hmm. And that numbed it out for me. And once I was able to realize that I can allow these feelings to process and come out of me and do it in a positive way, my brain kind of went, hey, that felt kind of good. This is kind of fun. I kind of like that. I mean, you stink and you're all sweaty, but that felt really good. And then I could go home and go, okay, I feel better. I've let it out. Whatever emotion we have, it just wants out.
It's yeah, and I did a physical challenge this weekend, and this past weekend I got more exercise than I've gotten in years.
That's crazy.
It was, but it felt great, and I actually today got on and did another, got a good one in today, and I'm just can I remember tomorrow how good I feel right now because of the work I did earlier? And you know, and the one thing, like you said about going to the gym or whatever, being alone is a lot harder than having someone that calls and says, "Hey Jeff, how's your day going? You know what? I've had a pretty crappy. Well, let's go. I'll pick you up. We'll go to the gym and let's you know, crank it out for 45 minutes or whatever." You know, the alone thing, because I'm not a good support for myself sometimes.
Yeah.
And I don't know how that.
Are any of us, our support has been alcohol. So again, it's just another learning curve. We have to learn that whatever's going on with us, we can feel and we're okay.
Yeah, and that's because I look at what the fear is going to be. What I'm going to feel with the feelings is doom and gloom. And when I finally actually do, I find I survive it. And I actually feel a lot better for surviving it. You know, it's like, you know, with losing Dad, with his passing, there was a lot of stuff that I would have gone straight to, you know, Mr. Anheuser-Busch. But I felt so good about how I did it and was with him and was, I gave him what he deserved as far as a son at the time. And I mean, I have, as much as I miss him, I have zero regrets of how it went. I mean, I'm thrilled with it. And that's one thing I don't have any regrets about, you know, gosh, I wish I had or whatever.
And you had emotion during that. You had highs and lows. So, you know, now you have an opportunity to look back and say, wow, okay, you know what? I was able to deal with emotion. I was able to cry. I was able to laugh. I was able to grieve. I was able to feel joy, which are all things that we feel when we're grieving. So you know you can do it. It's just each time you take a new step in life, being sober, there's always going to be the next challenge, or there's always going to be the new situation that will come up. You know, touch wood, it doesn't happen. Let's say you lose your job tomorrow. How are we going to deal with that? Okay, we just do it like we did with your dad. You take it one step at a time, one day at a time, 1 minute at a time, and one emotion at a time.
You know, the analogy that that fits with that for probably a lot of people, but with myself, is the and YouTube's got all these videos, but the dogs that were abused or whatever, when they bring them out in cages to a pen with grass, and there's other dogs, and it's, you know, they're saved or whatever, and they open the doors to the cages, and the dog is in a place it's wanted to get it out its whole life, because it's been hell in there, and yet it's looking outside, and it's scared to death to take the first step.
Yeah.
And, you know, it might see everyone else out there, but it doesn't trust that that'll be the same for it. And that first time stepping on the grass, you know, and it's like, okay, the cage sucks, but I know the cage.
The cage is safe.
The cage is safe. It's not a good place, but at least I know what's coming.
Yeah. So being able to trust yourself enough, you know, and as you gain sort of your sober legs, pardon the pun, but as you gain strength and belief in yourself that, hey, I'm doing this, I can actually believe in myself, I can trust in myself. As you begin to step out of that cage, I'll use that example, and take a step and say, okay, you know what, I'm doing this, this is okay. I can feel, I can touch the grass, I can experiment, I can feel happy, I can feel sad.
Mm-hmm.
And just see how it goes. But you have to have that trust in yourself to be able to say, okay, you know what, let's cry. You know, let's get angry. Let's do whatever it is, wherever that fear underneath is that's saying, no, you can't do that. Take that step and try it. And I used to do it with my daycare kids all the time. They'd come and I'm so angry. I'd say, really? Okay, let's get angrier. And they'd kind of look at me like, what?
Well, you know, that's a great point. I want you to explain, because anger. Oh, no. That's, you're angry. Oh, well, we got to change that.
Yeah.
You're sad. Hey, put on a happy face and cheer up.
No.
Maybe that's wrong to try and change those emotions.
Oh,
I mean, I
definitely.
still want, if someone's sad, I want to make them happy. Don't get me wrong. But,
Oh.
Do we need to feel those things?
Well, you need to feel them because they're valid. They're your feelings. Obviously, something has set you off to feel that way. That's 100% valid. Allow it, acknowledge it. Don't wallow in it. They always say, like, you can sit on the pity bus, but don't turn it into a city for yourself. Feel sad, feel happy. I mean, I had a day like that. I think it was Monday. It was cold and drizzly and gross here, and I was tired, and I was just down. Everything else is fine. I still have a roof over my head. Life is going okay. But I just felt blue, and I thought, you know what? I'm just going to allow it. And I puttered around. I stayed in my pajamas till 1:00 in the afternoon. I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. I kind of like that. But I just allowed that, and I allowed myself to do what I wanted to do. And that's okay. When we're sad, allow it, acknowledge it, understand it, accept it, and then do something about it. Whether it's crawl back into bed and cry, or whether it's go to the gym. But there's nothing wrong with our emotions. They're not a bad emotion. We've been taught that anger is bad. It's not bad. It's a reaction to something that's happened to us. So we can either control our reaction, we can allow the anger, and we can just move on. Same with sadness. If you and I were talking here and all of a sudden I started to cry, you couldn't look at me and say, okay, cry harder. It doesn't work that way. Our emotions come out, they're allowed, they're accepted, and then just let them go.
I the fear, or because we're looking for a happiness and fearing the having to face these feelings, I can see where that scares the hell out of people. And it's like, I don't know if I want this sobriety journey. And I don't know, and I wanted to hear your thing on the brain, reward center and chemistry and how long. I mean, should we avoid feeling feelies for the first week or two when we first get sober? How does all that plan in? Because I think that overload is probably can throw people off, because I'm still thinking sobriety is going to bring perfect happiness and harmony to my life.
No, it would be nice if it did, but life still goes on. We still have our ups and downs in life. We just don't drain it anymore. So, you mentioned the brain. So going back to the brain, we have sort of the homeostasis of where our balance is, of where, our happiness level and our sadness level are. And when we drink or take any drug, that balance is thrown off. So we're not in balance. So we need to remove the alcohol and allow our bodies time to heal, to be able to come back to that just sort of baseline of happiness, where it's normal, where you can walk outside and feel joy, or you can walk outside and feel sadness from this baseline. When we're hungover, our baseline is so off whack, our happiness is off whack, our sadness is off whack. So once we're able to bring our bodies back into that sort of balance, then our emotions can come into balance. But the way I've always visualized it for emotions is, do you remember those old bingo balls? Like the bingo containers where the bingo balls used to, the cage, yes. And it would spin around. To me, that's what our emotions were when we were drinking. They're still all in there, but they were caged up. So all of a sudden we stop drinking and this cage opens up and our emotions go, whoa, and so many people, especially during the first year, like, I'm so sad or I'm so happy. It's our emotions. They haven't figured out how to balance yet. They're bouncing around all over the place. So just giving yourself time and allowing your body to heal and your brain to heal, to come back to balance, your emotions will then come back to balance. And then that's when we need to acknowledge our fears and realize that our emotions aren't wrong. And it's okay to be sad, and it's okay to be happy. It's okay to be angry, and allow those to process. Because again, as I mentioned earlier, when we were kids, those emotions weren't accepted either. They were bad emotions. Like you said, well, you're sad, smile, be happy. Well, you know what? Piss off. I don't want to be happy right now. I want to be angry. I want to be sad. I need to let this out. So not only are we sober, but now we're learning how to deal with these emotions and to let them process within us without going back and reaching for a drink.
How much of that is pre-planned or should be pre-planned versus, I mean, is that something for someone new that you work out the tools of how they're gonna, what can you do and prepare for this? Or how do you coach with someone that's going to be, how do you prep them for a flood of emotions they're going to feel? And some might not be, because you hear the pink cloud and it's like, again, we all want the pink cloud, that whatever that is, that it's just, life is wonderful. But there is negatives that come along with it. So how do you prepare someone for that?
You can't really prepare them because it's such an unknown. How you react to a situation and how I react to a situation are going to be two different things. But what I do with my clients is give them tools to acknowledge their emotions, accept them, allow them, and allow them to move through them. Whether it's something, one of the tools that we use for a craving, especially in the early days, is surfing the urge. Well, an emotion is like that too. It comes in slowly, it peaks, and then it drops.
Yeah, that's one that I loved seeing as mine was, that if walking through a convenience store and seeing, the beer in the cooler, the little pang of, boy, that would be nice, still hit. But as soon as Doritos, something.
Oh, kale.
Yeah, kale. Mick Kale. But it's something very quick that it was very short lived.
Yeah.
The temptations were I very easy to distract. But that was, I was looking at some stuff and it said, people tend to manage stress distracting themselves. Well, distraction is great for the physical cravings, for physical sobriety. Get on, do anything, turn the radio on, pick a different way home, whatever, distract yourself there. But is distraction bad for the emotional sobriety? Because distraction is another way of moving it to tomorrow.
Yes. And it depends on the individual. It depends on the situation. I always suggest my clients that they go through it, allow that emotion, accept it, understand it. Why is it happening? And what do we need to do about it? Do we need to allow it? Do we need to distract ourselves from it right now because we have other things to do? It's such a mixed bag. But my preference is to allow it to feel it, or postpone it to feel it, not in the distraction sense, but you can't have this wave of anger come over you from something you remembered yesterday while you're at work and then blow up. Postpone that and deal with it later. It's so different. But the bottom line is, no, deal with it. Feel it, write it out.
Yeah, I can see so many people saying, well, that's easy with, the happy emotions. That's great. But the negative ones are the one that I go, wait a minute. I don't want to ride this out. I want that to go away. But
how do you make it go away?
Yeah.
How do you make anything go away? You deal with it. You have to face it head on. If you look at an emotion as another person, when they're in your face, the only way to deal with it is to face it, acknowledge it, and then say, okay, I've felt it, I've dealt with it, now I'm going to move on. Because we have that clear mind to be able to understand why we're angry or why we're sad, half of it is understanding what's going on. Once we've understood it, It's like, okay, do I want them? So we'll use anger, for example. So you can say something to me that just gets right under my skin. And I just start to boil with anger. Like, I can't believe you said something so cruel to me. I allow that anger to come up. I acknowledge it and say, okay, you know what? Jeff was just being an arse. I'm not going to allow Jeff to affect me that way. And then I let it go.
Yeah, I mean, I can hold grudges with the best of them. If someone wrongs me or wrongs a friend, I can.
But what's the point of that?
Yeah, well, exactly. It's just that's one that I have to work on, because I can look. It's immediately that's that asshole that said those horrible things about Pam, and trust me, they do. No, but you know what I'm saying. I will hold on to that, and it's hard. It's hard to forgive someone. Yeah. It's that's a tough one to let go sometimes. But I'm the only one that's affected by it.
Well, and I was just going to say that it's only affecting you.
Right.
Where is that hesitation to let it go? Where is the benefit to hang on to that?
My thought is they don't deserve me to let it go. They deserve to, which is, it's still coming right back to me. Yeah. But that's where my mindset is, that if I let it go, I'm letting them off easy, and they deserve to feel the wrath of my, being miserable inside, effect that's not affecting them at all.
No, that they have no idea that's
right, exactly.
even anything that's going on. They see you and say, "Oh, look at Jeff, he's happy."
Yeah, they're having a wonderful week, and I'm showing them as I'm just stewing over it and ruining mine. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's and so much to do with emotions is how we allow them, and how we, and holding grudges is a perfect example. What is the point of that? Because it just brings us down, which again goes back to my pause. Understand what's going on. Well, I'm really pissed off because Jeff did. Okay, yes, so Jeff did that. So what? We all know what Jeff's like. Let him go. Let it go. Carry on.
Do you see a lot of, I guess, twofolds? One, sobriety failure, and also more severely depression come about because of that. Do you run into that?
What do you consider sobriety failure? You mean someone just slipping up and having a drink?
Well, and that's a whole nother thing, because stuff I've been reading about, experiences. If we can, when I trip and fall because I didn't pick my feet up over the curb, if I didn't learn next time, pick my feet up. Now, if I did learn, then I'm more prepared next time I'm going to be crossing that street. If I do it again and again, then it was a waste of time. Yeah. But if I can pick myself up and go, okay, when I see that concrete coming, I got to lift my left foot a little higher to get over it. That can be a good thing. So I know where you're saying with that, but I think just it goes back to that term dry drunk, I guess, but someone that is not handling it the right way to cause them to go back to a life of drinking, I guess.
Yeah, it's not understanding. It's not being able to do things like play the tape forward to realize that it really doesn't help. Understanding, are we actually going to give whatever it is that's happened that power to allow us to fall back and have a data point and pick up a drink? Like, I don't consider sobriety failure, that term's never really sat with me, but it's just learning. And that's a process that we learn right from the moment when we say, you know what, we're not drinking anymore. We learn very quickly to pick our foot up and step over that curb. Pardon me. And if we falter and we fall, then we pick ourselves up and say, okay, you know what? When Jeff said that comment to me and it really pissed me off, and I reached for a drink and ended up having 10 beers, it didn't solve anything. Mm-hmm. So that's my lesson, to now no longer pick up a beer and step over that curb.
Yeah, Yeah, I get the learning thing, and that is I think there's a lot of people that will beat themselves up and go forward with it, but it goes back to that dry drunk. If I can turn a negative into something that I'll beat myself up all day about, and I'll tell you it's a data point, or it's a growth point, or it's a learning thing. It's a way, make it a positive, and you can be better because of it tomorrow. But I also I can turn myself into facing because I'm having to face the feeling that I failed and that I tripped, and I'll beat the hell out of myself on that.
Yeah.
I won't beat you up for it. I'll say, hey, don't worry about it, Pam. There's no problem whatsoever. If I can say, I can, you're okay, you're okay, you're okay, and I mean it. But if I replace that with me okay, talking to myself, I won't. It's a different. Doesn't work the same for me.
No, and it doesn't work the same for a lot. And that's where beginning to have self-compassion for yourself and understanding and realizing that, you know what, we just tripped. Let's figure it out. Let's not go back down that spiral, because if we end up back down that spiral of that negativity, that wine witch, as I call it, or for me, it was my beer bastard, is right there at the bottom going, oh, look, she's spiraling down. Let's get her to really drink some more. Yeah. Like I'm waiting. Come on, come on, come on. So, part of my job when we're dealing with emotions and dealing with that negativity is to acknowledge it and say, okay, you know what? We've got to pick ourselves back up right now, because we don't want that spiral. I mean, my dad, very wise man, said once something starts going downhill, it picks up speed really quickly. And that's what happens with our negative thoughts.
Well, it's yeah.
No, negative thoughts are different than emotions.
Well, I can build, the negative ones are the ones that are tough to accept. I mean, it's very that I can accept the fact that I survived yesterday going to that party and not drinking. And that was all wonderful. And I can build on that. But it's the negative ones that, where the whole acceptance thing is a struggle. It's go ahead.
You can see I was like,
no.
Acknowledging, so we're now pulling on two different things. We have our emotions, which are valid and 100%. They are 100% true. They are 100% us. And then we have our negative thoughts. So they're classified as automatic negative thoughts. And I think it was Dr. Amen that studied them. And there are 9 different types of negative thoughts, but just being able to acknowledge that it's just a thought, it's not truth, it's not a belief, and to let it go is an incredible advantage to anyone, whether we're talking about sobriety, which of course we are here, but anyone in life, to acknowledge that, wow, that was a negative thought. That really didn't make me feel good. That sucked. And being able to turn that one around really quickly before it spirals down is huge in helping anyone for anything.
So my boss, who's a jerk, and I can sit here with you and say, well, what's the good of it? And I can get, I can work past it. But tomorrow, when I get into my morning meeting and he's a jerk again, I'm right back there. I can work on myself today, but tomorrow he's going to completely just reinforce what I was feeling earlier. So it's
about him.
Well, my belief towards him. I mean, I'm changing myself maybe, but I'm not changing him. And whatever negative.
He's a jerk. So why accepting that? See, that's different than, I just want to make sure I'm following you, because that's different than having a negative thought towards ourselves. If we have if your boss is a jerk,
but I'll have the negative thought to myself after I have a negative thought towards him. So I'll double whammy.
Okay. Now I'm following you. So you have the negative thought because you think he's a jerk.
Yeah, I'm ticked that I can't let it go and just ignore it. The fact that he can so easily get under my skin.
Yeah.
Someone like that okay, I thought I was good, and now I just look at this person and they're coming at me smiling, and instantly right in a bad mood. And I think, okay, you're right back where you were.
Yeah.
And I think maybe that's just practice.
Yeah. And that's all it is. Just becoming aware. I mean, looking at stuff like that with curiosity. What is it that gets, why is he a jerk? Why do I think that he's a jerk? You know, what is it about him? Is it his awful hair? Is it his voice? Is it their statue? I'm just assuming it's a he. You know, just getting curious and being aware. And then when that does hit, like when he does walk in the room and you hear his voice and you go, ah, and start to cringe. What was it about that? Get curious. And try and get curious in a non-judgmental way.
I can get caught up on the frustration of not growing fast enough. You know, that I want the quick result. I want to apply your method when he walks in, and when I'm still in, and maybe I expect that although my ability to deal with those emotions to happen overnight or very quickly, and I'm going to get frustrated because I'm still feeling them. And I don't know, that's I'm
just
sure,
your impatience.
Yeah.
You know, it's not something you can't have a reaction for someone or a reaction for something. So we're talking about your boss or we're talking about alcohol. One day you can't look at him like he's a jerk, and beer or alcohol is going to, you know, it relieves your stress. And then the next day go, oh, okay, I've just changed my thoughts. Now we're perfect. It doesn't happen in a day like that. You have to work at it. You've got to change those neural pathways.
Yeah, I gotcha. Well, that's about, what else you got on facing emotions, because they're not fun sometimes.
Face them. Face them. Reach out. Talk to a friend. Call me. You know,
can I post your cell number on the bottom?
Sure.
No, I know what you mean, though.
Acknowledge that, you know, acknowledge that it's okay to be frightened of them, because it's something that we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know how they're going to bubble up. We don't know what's going on, but just acknowledging them and saying, okay, you know what? I hear that you're here. It's okay. I've got you.
See, and that's a huge thing because of pride. You know,
Yeah.
for me, you know, it's a, I don't know if you want to call it a man thing, whatever, but you know, I don't want you to see me crying. I don't want my buddies to see me crying. So I'm going to hold that in. I'm not going to say to my friends, hey, this person, you know, hurt my feelings today. That's not the stereotype that I would like to see of myself.
Oh, that's not the big Jeff football player guy.
Right, exactly. But even like for a mom that's got to hold it together for their kids, you know, to be the kid, I've got to be. I'm assuming. I mean, I haven't been there, but I assume I've got to be strong for my children, so I don't want them to see me cry. You know, I don't know if that's,
and that's BS. In my opinion, that's BS. Because when you show them, when you cry in front of your kids, or, you know, I'll take it down a couple of notches. You screw up in doing something. Let's say you promise to do something and then, you know, life happens, you can't do it. And you go to them and say, you know what, I'm really sorry. That's showing part of an emotion. That's admitting that you're human. By crying is admitting that you're human. By showing them that you're sad is admitting that you're human and it's okay. There is no weakness under shedding a tear. To me, that shows strength, because you're actually willing to show that tear.
Yeah, I mean, I still think of as crying as that's the point that I can, you know, my strength is I've broken.
Yeah.
You know, at that point it's overwhelmed me, and then I'm, you know.
And that's a belief that you hold that can be sort of transformed on paper, but you have to experience it. But, you know, that's a great example. So look back over the last couple of months with your dad, and, you know, before he passed and when he passed and then after, and if and when you shed tears, did all of a sudden you lose friends and they say, oh my God, look at that Jeff guy. He's so weak. He cried. I mean, just because his dad died. Did anyone say any of that to you?
No.
No. And did you shed a tear?
Yeah, a couple of, I mean, and my buddies handled it well. I mean, they teased me about it, but that was it was the right way of doing it. I mean, it was acknowledging it, and and then gave me the hug or the virtual hug, whatever it is.
Yeah. So just being able to grasp and hold on to that it was okay. It was received well. You didn't break. You didn't crack. You didn't lose the Jeff big, strong persona that you carry. You were just human. You shed a tear. It was well received, and you were able to carry on.
So just in closing for that, we all, and I survived it, but I've heard we're all one event or one bad news or one phone call away from a drink is what I've heard that thing. And I think that can be an untrue statement if we do the right things. Yeah. And I just handled a pretty tough situation, and the fact that I went through that without drinking, I'm amazed at myself and very proud of it. But how do we, I guess, prepare, or what's your advice for preparing? Because I can handle the little things. I can handle, I got a dent in my car today, and, I got a ticket on the way home, and be proud of myself. But there's that phone call that's going to happen, or that there is news. So what's your advice for someone to prepare for the things we're not expecting to see?
For the way I did it myself, and the way I coach my clients around it, is to really sort of look at life right now alcohol free, and it's something that you need to do. You can't do in the early days. You have to do after you have some time and realize how good it is. And then really look ahead and also look back and say, okay, what would alcohol add if I did get that phone call, whatever that phone call is? What would alcohol make that better? And I have a resounding no. You can hit me with anything now, and I know I'm not picking up a drink.
Well, I look at alcohol right now is that I've worked too hard to get to where. So if I was to have, drank beer, drank, for something that talks about drinking, I should know what the past tense of the word is. I don't drank. If I had consumed alcohol at the time, all that would have done now in my mind is destroy all the good that I did. I look at it, and that's a huge milestone to get at that. Is I don't look at it as a relief. I look at it as just you're just destroying everything, and now you're going to start everything you've worked for.
Yeah.
I don't see it as a solution right now.
No, it doesn't make anything better. Like there is nothing that will make it better. And I played that tape forward when my dad started to get ill, because I thought, am I going to want to drink then? And it was like, no. You know what? It's not.
It's a great question. Back. It's a great question of the good, for the bad. What will improve with this situation if you drink? Because it's not going away. No. You're not going to have to feel it. My magical word tomorrow. Why don't we do it? Why don't we get our accountability, our friends, whatever we got to do, our tools in place, and go into battle with this feeling and put it behind us.
Yeah, that's
and
it.
Do it as with our strongest front.
Yeah.
And then we get to, like I say, give ourselves tomorrow. We do it today and wake up with the gift that you earned.
You did it. Yeah.
So, all right. Well, look,
that tape forward is huge.
Yeah. And that's hard to do sometimes.
It is. It is. It's not easy. But if you can, again, going back to that pause, play that tape forward. What will it really do? Will it really help me? Play that tape forward a day, play it forward a week, whatever it takes.
The term I heard was the euphoric recall. And that is that when something, even like drinking at an event afterwards or a sad thing, at that moment, my mind only goes to the memories that pop up are just the comfort, the relax, that's what my mind, it recalls the good. I struggle to, I have to sit down. I'm getting a lot better at it now, but I have to struggle to remember, oh yeah, let's not forget about, oh, I forgot about
Oh,
that. Oh, the
yeah.
crap that comes with it. My brain only gives me offers the memories that, for whatever reason, the smile memories of it. I have to fight sometimes to get the negatives.
That's the faded effect bias. That's common. You know,
And
we
for me, I
only
don't know if there's
remember
a
the
better
good things.
solution, but that's just practicing
Yeah.
playing the tape fully out.
Yeah, that's it.
And some of
And
that is,
acknowledging that it's faded effect bias. I mean, we all have that. That's common, whether it's with drinking, whether it's with past behavior, whether it's with past relationships. You know, we only remember the good. That's our brain protecting ourselves. We don't remember the tragedy. We remember the happy part of it. You know,
yeah, that's interesting. It comes down though, and this, you just proved it right now, but why I think doing this alone is so hard. Because if you have someone to help you talk this stuff out and help you think about it and help you, just by talking to you, I'm actually getting my thoughts out in front of me and I can see them that way. And now I can address them, or you can see them and you can ask me whatever. Boy, doing this with someone else, it helps so much.
and that shows strength. You know, that shows immense strength. I mean, my group coaching I run 6 nights a week. The amount of strength that I have seen in these individuals that come for help and share and spew out what they're thinking, and then allow, like you just said, to see their thoughts, and then to realize that they do have it within them, but they just need to be heard. They need to be seen. They need to be understood. They need to be asked questions.
Mm-hmm.
And then to move forward is amazing.
Someone just put a good point about, and I will throw this, but I've heard about the 50% rule, and I don't know, staying whatever, but that I want to be at 98%. I want to be up here.
Don't we all?
Right. Yeah. Well, that's what I try to do with alcohol, but the norm is actually in the middle, is that 50% where you're at a balance of highs and lows.
Yeah.
And the key is to stay within that range and not have, the spikes that are going to send me through the roof, which I'd love, but also, but the key is to keep the low points just under the norm as well.
Yes. Because you don't want, life is going to take you on enough spikes, ups and downs anyways. So you want to try and keep that balance, but you always want to try and just stay above 50%. There's a couple of different ways of looking at 50%, but on average, yes, stay at 50% where you're just balanced. You're okay.
And balance, Pam, and this is something I'd love to go further, because a lot of people go so far, if the pendulum of sobriety and or good and bad, they try so hard to get to where everything is just perfect.
Yeah.
And it's almost like you're living a little bit of a lie.
Yeah.
It's I go back to like the kale thing. I can have these days where I'm like, I am fired up. I'm going to eat just nothing but rabbit food or whatever. And just, well, I can do that for a couple of days, but that's not real for me. And when I snap, I'm going to be, you'll see me at Taco Bell, with my credit card out, filling up bags. I got to find that balance point.
Well, and you said it exactly. It's like the pendulum. If you pull it too far one way, it's going to swing back the other way. And until it comes in and finds, like, that's the balance. The balance is right here.
Which is not great, but not bad. It's right. Yeah.
And that allows us to go and feel the real highs, and it allows us to feel the lows. But, I love visualizations. If you visualize a pendulum, you can't pull it all the way to the left and expect to eat kale for the rest of your life. Because like you said, as soon as that stops, it's going to swing all the way to the other side. Right. We want to have kale maybe once a week. So it just moves the pendulum a little bit. So your ding dongs and your Pepsi are still on the other side, and you've got this happy little balance.
It's right here. No, but it is a good point, because I can handle the middle. I'm not going to go and it'll keep me from making the hard swings. I just think it's real, but it's the problem is that I expect I expected with sobriety that I'm going to be 100% in this, you know, pink cloud that is just everything is roses.
But has life ever been roses? I mean, roses have thorns for a reason, just to remind us that it's life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I just think that finding that balance is huge. So,
Yeah.
well, look, thanks so much. Stay
Thank
on
you.
here, and you are the best. And
Do I get a prize?
well, it's in the mail. Should be any second there. I'd wait till tomorrow to run to the box, but you'll find it out there. But yeah, you'll be back. That's all I got to say.
Oh, thanks.
And now that you've publicly agreed to that, I've complimented you on air. You know, if you
Yeah,
don't
we're
come back,
good.
then we'll all hold grudges for you, and we'll
Yeah.
all stew while you're. But well, look, stay on there, and we will talk soon. Okay.
Okay. Thanks,
All right,
Jeff.
everyone. Take care, and keep talking to each other. Give yourself tomorrow. We'll see you. Bye.